Hey guys, welcome to Rayanimator Reviews. I am the groom. This is my darling wife, the Rayanimator. With us, we have three very special channels, very good friends of ours. We have first, the Glamour Ghoul.
Hello. And I am the Glamour Ghoul, and this is Listada. Do we do our little intro now?
Sure.
Okay, so I have a channel, Curse of the Glamour Ghoul, and I do makeup tutorials. I've taken off a bit of my face today. I also do DIY, and we do some travel vlogs, so feel free to subscribe. I don't upload as much as I should, but I'll work on that.
All right, next we have with us is channel Sundown.
Hey guys, it's Amanda here, your Kitty of Carnage.
And I'm Jess Koresh.
And we do a horror review channel. We do a lot of new things. We do like unboxings, we do movie reviews, and Jesse over here, he does horror book reviews. So we're doing a lot of on-set stuff because we live in Texarkana, the town that dreaded Sundown, you know, Boggy Creek Monster. So we have a lot of on-set stuff coming up. But yeah, check out our channel. We have a lot of fun. Y'all. It's not a mainstream until I say y'all, hun, or okay, or yonder.
True. All right, last and certainly not least, we have a very close personal friend of ours, horror show host, the very own Brian Gatto.
Hola. I'm the horror show host. I do reviews of books, movies, in the horror and sometimes action genre. I do music videos, fan trailers, kill counts. I've been on that channel for about almost probably 8.5 years. So I've been doing this for a while. And just check me out. I'm sure all of us are linked in the description below. So you can find the channel that way. I don't know my own URLs. So
That's okay.
we had a problem with that. Yes, if we have all the channels linked in the description, as well as the channel that's following us on the crawl. They are also linked down below, and we have a link to the entire crawl schedule, well, the remainder of the crawl schedule, linked down in the description below. So if you guys want to see who's coming up and you want to check out the next channel, make sure you click those descriptions. And I know Gory will be in here, and she'll pop a link into the comments because, you know, she's awesome.
She is awesome.
All right. So
I just had one thing before I wanted to say before we start. It's for Amanda. Did you hear about Charles the restoration for The Legend of Boggy Creek?
Yeah, there's a big thing in Texarkana. They had a big premiere. Oh, they called it a re-premiere, but they had this big thing at the Fur Theater. They had the cast, they did interviews, and that was I'll say that for another time. I will get all my let me lean off my soapbox for a minute. I feel like a lot of the hype was based on the remake and the kind of people just being like, oh, I like the original Boggy Creek because I'm vintage, but I don't think a lot of people actually appreciated the original. So, yeah, a lot of things.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Joey. I just wanted to keep that separate from what we were talking about because it's not the topic.
Oh, no worries. All right, so our channel, Rayanimator Reviews, has a lot of different...
Oh my God,
What?
I said I interrupted so much. I'm so sorry.
No. So we do a lot of movie reviews, mostly horror, a lot of Marvel, pretty much anything we watch that we enjoy that we think other people would enjoy as well. We do unboxings. I do a lot of makeup product reviews, Sephora unboxings. I've done one Get Ready With Me so far. I'd like to do a lot more of those and also incorporate kind of like daily vlogger stuff in as well. So there's a little something for everyone.
It's like a one-stop shop.
It's a one-stop shop.
Well, I will say one thing though. You're like the only, and I'm not saying this to anybody, like you're the one makeup channel episodes that I watch because like I love how you actually talk about your products and you actually talk while you do the products. There's so many makeup videos that I watch. They're like, this lipstick's red. I'm gonna put it on. I love it. And I'm like, all right. They're like, I'm like, what color is it? They're like, red. I was like, from what? Maybelline. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
I feel like probably my reasoning for being so descriptive is because I'm visually impaired and I have friends that are. So I want them to enjoy it as much as like all the sighties. So kind of like throwing in more description, like that's good for everyone. And especially if you like my lipstick, you want to buy my lipstick, I will let you know what it is.
Well, and another thing I love about your channel is when you actually use a product, you're not just like, this is fantastic. Like you kind of like, you're so natural that when you use something you don't like, you're like, oh.
The sauce.
The lotion.
Yeah, you're like, you have one job. One job eyeliner.
All right, so to transition from talking about makeup, let's talk about some practical effects.
I just have to make one. Sorry, I hate to interrupt again, but Joey, look at how many subs you have.
What am I looking at here?
How many subs you have?
I can't see anything.
I was about to say I have to look here.
I have my glasses over
We
here.
just hit 300 subscribers right now because of we started the crawl at like 291, 292. So the crawl has already put us over the 300 mark. So we'll have to do something special.
Yay!
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, great job.
Thanks for pointing that out. So awesome. It's so cool.
I'm gonna cheers my monster.
Yeah.
Nice.
Seltzer.
I will cheers my vape because I forgot to grab a drink.
Okay.
But
It's just a monster. Like, there's my monster.
yeah, so the big thing we're going to talk about are practical effects, and practical effects are very near and dear to my wife's heart, who is near and dear to my heart. And we're going to talk about, it's just a general conversation about, movies that we really like the practical effects of, movies that you saw the practical effects in and that made you really like horror, and just a general, we're not necessarily doing like a top 5, but just kind of like a round table discussion about everything that is practical effects in horror movies. So
I've always felt like, for me at least, even if the story isn't super strong, if they have really good effects, if they have really good gore, it's going to keep me entertained, keep me watching it. Probably recommend it to other people that have similar tastes. Maybe they're not going to enjoy it, but they could at least appreciate the aspects of it. I feel like a lot of especially before CGI was very popular and very widely used, everyone leaned on practical effects.
Yeah. And not having a solid story, like the Terrifier, Brian lifted up the Blu-ray case for it. That's such a perfect thing. Like the story was like, okay, but those effects in that were so good that I was just like, there's a story here. I don't care. Go kill it.
Yeah, I don't care.
It doesn't matter at this point.
So freaking good.
I held it up so I wouldn't interrupt again. I was like, I'll just hold it up so I don't interrupt again.
Well, the thing about practical effects, I think, is like it's like this weird like weight scale, because it's like either I want it to be either trauma or like Sam Raimi. But things are awful. It's like either go for a trauma effect, because it doesn't have to look real, but I feel like the effort within the effects, because I'm like, Trauma, of course you watch Trauma, you're not like, oh, the effects are so real, but you feel it, just like, Peter Jackson and stuff, like you feel it. But then when it's like good, it's like good. Like you see a shrunken heads, you see Basket Case, and then you see it, and you're like, they're totally different. But when they hit the in-between, you're just like, did you even try?
Yeah.
You either gotta
it loses it. Like it has to be really it has to be either tacky, like what it is, or brilliant.
Mm-hmm. I feel like with Trauma, especially because they are so low budget, a lot of the money that they pulled together for the film is going towards effects, because how are they going to pull off big, parts of the story without the practical effects? And I've always it's Trauma. so you know what it is.
Yeah.
But you're just like, damn,
It is what
that's
it
like
is.
that's a lot of effort.
Hmm.
And you
Unless
can
they're
tell
Bigfoot
a
from
lot
Trauma.
with- I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
What'd you
That's
say,
fine.
Brad?
Everyone's interrupted. So unless you're Bigfoot from Trauma, which had like very little effects, which was actually like a mainstream kind of movie, like the story wise, it wasn't over the top, and it was Trauma, which was weird.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
What about Amy,
Yeah.
Kevin? What do you guys think?
I was about to say, speaking of effects, look at Amy
Yeah,
and Kevin.
You guys look awesome.
I was about to say, talk so we can watch you guys here. Oh my god.
Well, we were actually talking this morning about like the fact that you don't need to have a great storyline if you do have special effects, like you were saying, and like the original Maniac, I love it. It holds a special place in my heart, but the story's not anything too spectacular, but it's those special effects, that exploding head scene that just makes me want to watch it over and over and over again. And like the quality of the film is not incredible, but those special effects are, so it makes up for it, you know? Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, and let's talk movies. Just made a very good point. You talked about The Relic. It had fantastic practical effects, but bad CGI that really distracted from the movie. And I can really when you see that bad CGI, it'll take away from the rest of the movie. It can even take away from the story because it becomes your focus. Like, oh my god, you can totally tell that's not real, and the practical effects aren't real, but it's a lot different.
And Joey's favorite, Deep Rising, which was all CG in the 90s.
Oh god.
That's just a fun movie.
It is a fun movie. It is what it is.
Well, just
Treat
like
Williams.
everybody hates this, but I love Howling 3. I love the Howling series, but marsupials like that. I'm sorry,
It's a great movie. I love it.
I've never seen it.
You guys know my favorite 976 Evil, my favorite movie.
Any transformation scene should always be practical effects because those are my favorite.
Yes.
The transformation scene from The Howling.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that was one of the first ones that really got me into horror when I was like 12 or 13. I was into horror at a young age, but when I saw that, I was like, I love horror. I saw Jaws when I was 3, so then ever since then I was into horror. But when I saw The Howling, it was a whole new ballgame.
That's awesome. I'm trying to think of probably Day of the Dead was the one with the practical effects that got me so hooked into it and made me want to do practical effects and special effects, makeup. Just, the way everything was staged and shot, and the actors, like the part with Captain Rhodes getting ripped apart, and then you see the behind the scenes with like half of him is like under the ground and
Choke on them.
yes, like that dummy they used for him. I was just like, oh my god, I want to do that.
And I always get this wrong. That's the one with the elevator scene,
That
right?
is Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead, the elevator scene. That was literally like the first practical effect horror movie I saw, and I was just like, when they're just digging and pulling stuff out, and just like it looks so realistic when you're a kid, and I was just like, whoa, this is awesome.
That zombie walk.
Definitely want to watch. I was like, I definitely want to watch more movies like this.
And then that zombie walk he does afterwards is amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, like one of my favorite movies when I was a kid was actually Nothing But Trouble.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's not really horror, but I'm sorry, but it did directed by Dan Aykroyd. And yes, I love that one. And another film, it's not generally horror, but I don't know. I was going to put it on my list because I have a list of things. I didn't because I didn't know how people felt about it. But Quaid starring in Freaks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that one was. And it had the guy from
I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's in it. And you guys know my memory is not as great. I don't remember many things. But I remember watching Freaks when I was a kid. And that just like missed me. Like, I was just like, what the hell? My favorite movie was Five Goes West and then Freaks. So,
That's a big jump.
Right?
I feel like I watched Freaked with my friends like 2 years ago.
Mhm.
Watched the whole thing, and he's just sitting there like, "What the fuck? What was that?" I don't know.
She broke him.
I don't know, but I liked it.
She broke him. He was like, I don't know. I'm going to go home. I'll talk to you later. And I was like, did you break him?
Yes. Me and Kevin, do you guys have like a movie you can remember that you saw, maybe younger, like more into the beginning of your horror watching with practical effects that you were just like, ooh.
When I was a kid, my mom had American Werewolf in London, the VHS, and the transformation scene. To me, like you said, transformation scenes, that's where I'm really impressed. But I didn't even need to watch it because the VHS tape was sitting in our cupboard, and I would be terrified to open that cupboard because on the back was him as the werewolf in this transformation. And I was horrified. So when I finally watched it, I'm just like, I'm still blown away by how, like, the extension of the jaw and just the work that went into that scene. And all set to an amazing rock soundtrack. Like, that movie's just
Mouth.
Oh,
yeah.
good.
But
Have you seen Bone Hill Road, that new werewolf movie?
No.
Oh, the transformation in that is excellent.
I've heard a lot of people talking about that movie today. A lot of people in the comments have said, like, Bone Hill Road, you got to watch Bone Hill Road. So that's definitely one that's going to go on the list.
Yeah, well,
It's
Brian did an interview.
It's what?
I remember that on Bone Hill Road. I remember you did an interview.
Yeah, with the director. He directs a lot of, well, in like the 80s and 90s and into the early 2000s, he directed a lot of shot-on-video movies. But then he had a heart attack. And then he came back after surviving the heart attack and started making more, I wouldn't call it polished, but more high-tech horror films.
Mm-hmm.
So he made Bone Hill Road after making a couple other ones for like $13,000. And it came out to be actually really good, especially the transformation scenes and the werewolf suits themselves.
Oh, wow.
That's the scariest to me. I don't know. Werewolves are I'm a grown woman. I shouldn't be terrified of werewolves, but I am. That's so scary.
Oh my god, I used to be so scared.
Aw. I'm scared of dinosaurs from Jurassic Park.
That T-Rex and Raptors.
No. It was specifically a specific scene where the dinosaur, where it's in the backyard, and you see just the eye go in you see the eye come by the window. That terrified her.
Nightmares for years.
The whole thing with the storm and the kids in the Jeep was just it was so intense and so terrifying. And to imagine being in that scene where this, I don't know how many tons of animatronic is coming down on you is just insane. And the problems that they had, with the night and then with the rain.
They're not working in the rain, right?
No, it would keep stuttering in the rain, and they have to dry it off between takes. It was just absolutely incredible. So
this reminds me of Jaws. When he was talking about that, I was like, how the Jaws is not working for the majority of the film. Yeah, that's more terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, another point of that too is like Jaws was actually originally supposed to be a Hitchcock film. They were looking at.
I didn't know that. Wow.
So I feel like being that the machine didn't work like it said, but the opening scene, like I said, your thought is scarier than your visual, because your mind can take you places. So the beginning scene, I have a phobia of Jaws, but you want to know the part of Jaws I can watch after he's revealed. I can watch that. But when the POV I can't do that. I can't do it.
She really can't.
And there's another point that I would like to hear y'all's opinion on is this was actually on my countdown of scariest moments in non-horror films, but I'm going to talk about we love Cronenberg.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about Naked Lunch.
Naked Lunch.
That movie's so fucking weird.
I was actually going to say, as far as practical effects go, one of the first movies I remember watching was The Fly. I mean, with David Bowie.
Yeah.
The Fly and Hellraiser 2. You know my fascination with Hellraiser 2. But I saw that when I was a kid, and that movie scared the shit out of me. Like,
oh yeah.
I'll tell you, the original the first Hellraiser, the Chatterer, still creeps me out.
Yeah.
And then in the second one was revealed, he was, well, I don't want to spoil too much, but it's not really a spoiler because they don't really touch upon it. Like when they reveal he's a kid, that's kind of disturbing. Like even a kid could fall victim to
That
these
just makes
things.
it even creepier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Dezombified just brought up Society. Good movie.
Oh, that was my next thing.
Practical effects. That movie is fucking great.
1989, Brian Nelson, Society. That was my next conversation piece. So good job. There you go. Society.
The end scene is just like you can feel how gross that scene is. You just want to take a shower.
You just want to bathe
Mr.
that
Clean
off
in a
of you.
Brillo pad.
I'll tell y'all some funny, like my friend Jesse here, he's into like 70s and 60s horror. So he kind of is like, he's seen 80 horror films, but he wasn't so much into it. And I asked him to watch Society and he was like, okay. And then afterwards, like he literally, like we hung out the next day, we were filming a review and I was like, so what'd you think? He was like, thanks, Amanda. Like,
I think we did a WTF moments after that, and I include the orgy scene or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
One of the movies.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, you can go.
I also broke a friend by making them watch Street Trash. Like all the melting and exploding.
You broke
and
your
like,
husband by making that.
yeah, you were also like sitting there just like,
and then we watched the documentary about it.
Well, I got the Blu-ray, so it had, the original short film on it, which we also watched as well. And you watched that whole thing. I don't think you watched Street Trash in its entirety, but you were like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
even if you did watch it in its entirety, you'd still go, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Right. And that's so funny that you guys say that because it's so funny because I told him about these movies. I'm like, Ray, Brian, we all like these like crazy movies that are just in itself. And it's so funny. Every time he recommended me a film, it was always like awesome. It was Dario Argento, And as like I would watch these films, I'm like, it's so in depth. And he watches movies like Society and Street Trash and Alice, Sweet Alice, and he's like, wow, man, you have like this horror John Waters thing going on.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to feel about Street Trash. You definitely couldn't make that movie now, for sure.
No. Oh god, no. The part with the peen flying around, they're like throwing it back and forth. Like, no.
Oh, wow.
I would have been playing dildo dodgeball with that one.
Yeah,
right. I feel like that's not even like the controversial part of the movie, and that should say something about this movie. Like, there's a whole like in-depth like gang rape.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone's like the dick flying around.
Yeah.
It gets dark.
Ryan, I had him watch Brain Damage, and it was the funniest thing he said.
Oh my god.
All my friends love it. And he goes, yeah, you have a lot of friends who love this man. I'm like, yeah, they're not local though.
Yeah, you showed me Brain Damage. I had a copy of it, and I was like, what the frig are we watching?
My favorite part of that is when he's in the bathtub. He's like splashing around and shooting water. He's just like, woo! That was such a good time with this fucking alien brain parasite.
Rory makes a very good point. He says he needs to see the Greasy Strangler next, which I will recommend to everybody.
Bullshit artist.
Bullshit artist, right? Bullshit artist. I was, you can ask Ray and Brian. I was like obsessed with this film, and I had him watch it too. It's like this like trauma, but like Tim and Eric-esque.
Oh yeah.
That's just fantastic, guys. And the funny part, what I love most about this, I'm not going to get on a tangent about a movie we saw. There's a lot of like horror comedies that we watch that are kind of like the pause joke. And I'm like, okay, I get it. It's supposed to be funny, but I love dry humor.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, yeah.
Strangler like has the dry humor galore, and what I love about it is they're not going for a laugh. They're like, it's funny because it's not funny. Like the scene where they're talking, and he's like, "Yeah, I read that on a magazine I found on the bus."
Speaking of
Eric style.
Yeah, exactly, and it's so funny because you're like, I read that on a magazine I saw on the bus, and you're like, what the hell?
Speaking of dry humor, what about What We Do in the Shadows?
Oh yeah,
I love that movie.
We're werewolves.
Yeah. And then they had the scene. Well, speaking of practical effects, they had the werewolves and everything, and then they had the scene where what's his name? What was it? The tech guy, Drew.
Yeah, Stu.
Yeah, and they had him just laying there all bloody, then just gets up and shoots and runs away. I love that.
I was so impressed that the TV show held up. Like I loved the TV show too, but I was hesitant. I'm going, oh God, I don't know if they're gonna do what's it gonna, and I just adored it. I thought it was so funny and so well done. I was so sad when the season was over, but it's coming back.
Yeah, the sequel about the werewolves.
Yeah,
I thought I heard that.
off, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I thought like if after when the movie was over, I was like, how can they make a sequel to this? Like it's all tied up and everything. Then I heard they could be doing a werewolf sequel, but then they made the TV show. So
Yeah, werewolves, not swearwolves.
Werewolf movie.
Well, and that's what he was talking about earlier. He was talking about they need to have more werewolf films, and they kind of do, but they kind of don't at the same time.
okay.
But I would like to hear everybody's opinion on this because I wrote it down because this is one of my favorite movies. But 1977, David Lynch's Eraserhead.
Love Eraserhead.
I haven't seen
Don't really know what it's about, but I love it.
No one does.
You guys want to know the funny part is like, you know how much research I did? I went through my movies. That's just, the first file was like my movie collection. All right, da 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 da. But we're talking about the baby scene.
That
I
unsettling.
can't believe you would say the baby scene. You
Yeah,
hate baby
I have
scenes.
a problem watching baby scenes. Like, for example, I can't watch Train Spotting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The only one I have, the only one I have a problem with is in Feast 2. Sorry.
No,
Yeah, I can't watch these two.
Oh, Feast had some good practical effects.
Oh,
Yeah,
they
that's good too.
did.
I feel like that movie's so underrated. Like,
It had a whole bunch of talent behind it too.
yeah, it had a lot of, well, to me at least, like I was excited to see Jason Mewes.
It also had
Henry Rollins, like,
yeah, it had
hello.
Henry Rollins in those pink pants.
I freaking love Henry Rollins so much.
He was in Wrong Turn 2 as well as like the drill instructor.
Somebody said
Yeah.
Pumpkinhead.
Pumpkinhead's
there's
awesome.
Pumpkinhead.
Winston.
Pumpkinhead creature effects.
Yeah.
And Jason Mewes reminds me of this because we're talking about vampire films because we're working on vampire video. But I don't know if a lot of people seen this because I was really pleased with it. Jason Mewes in Once.
Mm-mm.
It's a vampire film starring Jason Mewes, and he is not Jay. He is a own character, and it's actually really good. If you guys get a chance to check it out, check it out. I think it's not Once Bitten. That's Jim Carrey.
And I had no idea that was Jim Carrey when I saw that. I was so young when I watched that movie, and I'm like, what is it? I didn't really get it.
we're Canadian. We should know that.
And I'm like, oh my God, it's Jim Carrey.
Aw.
Yeah, and Lauren Hutton, was it Lauren Hutton in that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Another good kind, not like vampire, but it's from like the same studio, like Hammer Films. Like I watched Curse of Frankenstein a few weeks ago. I love that movie now.
Oh, nice.
It's the one with Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. Christopher Lee as Frankenstein, so that's just awesome because he played Dracula and Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And they couldn't really get the they couldn't get the trademark on the look for Frankenstein from Universal, so they made their own one. It's like just a all guy in like pale face. It's hilarious.
I love that he has the DVDs just like ready to be
Yeah, ready to
bam.
go.
You have no idea.
You do not know me.
Yeah, when he turned his camera on the one day, I was like, dude, you're literally sleeping in like a movie store.
Yeah, 'cause my bed's right here, and and a whole other shelf is along that wall, and then there's a shelf over here.
That's awesome. It looks really cool from what we can see. Looks really awesome.
I'll try to turn it around. Don't
Don't drop my computer.
Yeah, don't drop my computer. All right, let's do.
I thought of something interesting. I would like
Hold on,
to thought on.
Oh, cool.
drop my phone.
Oh no.
It's been through enough. It'll last. Let's see.
Vincent Price.
Oh, wow.
Look at that. That is
Brian, where'd you go?
I'm right here. Oh, my hand's over the camera.
Holy crap.
That looks like a movie store.
Yeah.
exactly. He looks like he lives in like the archive, the place that we met him at.
Brian's rental.
Brian's borrows.
What are those late fees like?
Yeah,
They're savage.
The savage.
Savage.
don't make him come and collect.
So do you guys have like a favorite zombie, all practically affected?
Oh.
I'd have to say mine would be the Tar Man because he's awesome, and I used to want to grow
Yeah.
up to be him because he's just so cool and fluidy.
There's one from The Dead Next Door. I don't know if you guys saw that one, but it's a lower budgeted movie.
Mhm.
But they have the scene where I think it was not Ted Raimi. It might have been, but he
Everything's usually Ted Raimi.
So
Safe
he's trying to grab he cut off a zombie's head, and then he's trying to reach for his gun or whatever, and he accidentally puts his fingers inside the zombie's mouth, and they bite his fingers off, and then you can see like through the bottom of the severed head's neck, the fingers going out.
Oh,
Amazing.
I love that effect.
All right, Amy, Kevin, do you guys have a favorite zombified person from a movie?
Well, when I went to make my list, I noticed I was making mostly movies from the 80s. I don't know what that says, but I guess practical effects were just at that point. But like the first Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2 is my favorite, honestly, out of all of them. But Evil Dead 1, they take themselves so seriously, and those effects are just like when you read about what the actors went through, like it is actual pain and misery on that set to produce the effects. And I know you were more into a TV series zombies than.
Yeah. Well, Greg Nicotero's work on obviously The Walking Dead, like there's some amazing zombie effects, practical stuff in that. And yeah, I've never seen anything like that on
television.
No, and yeah,
Cinematic quality on. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't watch it personally, but I've seen images from it, and it's really incredible what they can do.
yeah, special effects wise.
amazing. I love
Yeah.
Terror.
And Brian, you'll like this. Isn't Greg Nicotero? Isn't he the one who is actually fixing the original Jaws? Isn't Greg Nicotero the one that's fixing the original Jaws practical effect? Like he's.
I heard about that vaguely. I don't really know though.
Yeah, it said that they found it, and Greg Nicotero offered his skill to bring it back to life.
Yeah, I thought I meant inside the movie. I was like,
no, the actual prop. They found the actual prop, and he said, "Let me give this. Let me borrow this. And let me make it into Jaws again." Which I can't wait to see that.
All right, Amanda and Jess, what do you guys think?
Oh wow, this is a loaded question.
That's such a loaded question.
I have to say, because I was thinking through my head, and I couldn't put one in it, but I have to say my favorite. I'll just say zombies. My favorite practical effects in zombies has to be Peter Jackson, Brain Dead.
Good pick. Good pick.
That is a good.
Yes.
That's
So
a good pick.
I feel
I'm gonna have to go with Bill Murray in Zombieland. Because
yes.
technically, if you think about it, his character would have done his own makeup,
Mm-hmm.
and he did a good job. Yeah, so I mean,
Oh god,
we forgot about Skull.
So box a minute because he was talking we were talking about stuff, and he was he always wants to talk about practical effects, so he almost went crazy when he was like, "We're gonna talk about practical effects." I'm like, "Yeah, all right, I'm gonna hold this conversation, Amanda." I'm like, yes, sir.
Well, it was just that when I started thinking about practical effects, it's like all my favorite movies use practical effects.
Mhm.
I never really thought about it before, but the Thing, Alien. I mean, just there's a whole lot of them that used.
Oh my god, the practical effects in The Thing.
Oh,
They still look so amazing today, and I think that's
Oh, yeah.
Well, see, and that's the thing too. I was talking about when you were talking about The Thing, because you were like, "I love The Thing," because we mentioned remakes, and you're like The Thing, and I was like, "Yeah, see, there's a difference between remakes and copying," and you're totally correct. The Thing was fantastic, and it was a good point. And I wish they would do more stuff like that, like retelling stories versus all that. But The Thing was great practical effects, and Ray loves The Thing. I'll just say that.
The Thing.
I
Another
gotta
good-
say that in a better sentence because that was really inappropriate.
No,
I
let's.
just watched it a few days ago on Blu-ray, and it's still such a good movie. It still holds up.
Exactly, it still holds up today very well. Let's talk movies. Actually, brought up a very good movie with good practical effects. Train to Busan.
Oh,
Busan!
that was like the most heartbreaking movie to watch.
God.
Though. Like so many points, you're just crying.
I never felt so many feels in a zombie movie.
I have.
Yep. Zombieland, Bill Murray, you know.
Yeah. Oh, I love Bill Murray.
I had a hard time watching that movie because back when I was in high school and stuff, I lived in Korea and I had to drive that train.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I had to go. We had to ride the street trains, and that was normal transportation in Korea. So it was so funny because I swear years ago, I was with my friend. I was like, what if a zombie outbreak came? We have sliding doors. We're stuck. And I was like, thank you, Train to Busan.
Amanda thought of Train to Busan before it was even made.
And then,
with the better story, though. The story is fantastic. It was just really funny because all my friends were like, have you seen Train to Busan? I was like, I've been on the train to Busan. Busan. Well, there's Busan. Anyways, I'm not gonna yell on that tangent. But anyways, yeah, I'm like, yeah, thanks for that, high school.
and then Lucio Fulci's Zombie from 1979. Damn good effects. My favorite zombie movie, to be honest.
It's such a good movie.
The Blob. The Blob. They're talking about The Blob. That was
88.
Yeah.
Screen Factory's releasing that apparently.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Blu-ray, yeah.
Oh.
Well, I thought of a film. I don't know what y'all thought about, but I put it on my list. It was my number one. But if you guys ever, like, we're going on a Peter Jackson tangent, but a lot of people don't like this film, but Frighteners.
I love that.
I thought you were going to say Bad Taste.
I love that.
No, we talked about Bad Taste. That was actually on my list but everybody always mentions Bad Taste and everything. But Frighteners is actually really good. And that was the tangent I was going to get on earlier. I'm not going to get on tangent. But like when we're talking about like money and where it goes to practical effects, a lot of times when you hear like a film coming out, like World War Z, and you're like, oh, that's going to be awesome. You're like starring Brad Pitt. That's where the money is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There it goes. And then you're like Frighteners starring Michael J. Fox, and you're like, oh, that would be interesting. But if you're like Frighteners starring Megan Fox, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
So people in the comment section are talking about Overlord.
Overlord. Oh, yeah. I can't talk about Overlord because I haven't seen it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. We won't talk about it then.
I haven't seen it yet. No, you guys can talk about it. Just no spoiler. Yeah.
Cover your ears. It's no spoiler. Earmuffs.
The
We
movie
live
was
in a
crazy.
small redneck town, so like they show very limited movies, and the only time they showed Overlord was after 10, and I'm like, I can't do that. I can't control. Yeah, so
It was really good. I actually watched it like 3 times in a row once I got it because I loved it the first time. Then I noticed stuff after I watched it the second time. Like there's a part in there where they're just walking through the forest, and I didn't notice this the first or second time, but the third time I watched it, there are actually people hanging from trees in the background.
Wow. Like the Wizard of Oz.
Like the Wizard of
Oz. Hopefully not like the Wizard of Oz.
No, that's fucked up. Sorry, guys.
Or the Wizard of Gore. Like, I love Herschel Gordon Lewis.
Nice segue, too.
They started the slasher genre, in my opinion. I know they didn't have the formula yet, but the special effects and the way that the bodies are presented and the carnage, that's really inspired by those. And then, like, we know that Herschel Gordon Lewis started off in, like, leg pictures and exploitation cinema. So it's all the naked girls, you know, running with their tops off. Like, that's how we got where we got. So, I mean, I love what happened in the 80s, but we have to pay homage to the godfather of gore.
Oh, it all came from porn, to be honest.
I loved in Wizard of Gore all those really tight shots of his eyebrows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the terrible editing where it's like carnage 1 second and then totally normal the next.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
And
then
I
like
love
when
the
there's
ending
a
to that
chase
movie.
scene, it's daytime, nighttime, daytime, nighttime.
With 2000 Maniacs, like that I know most of his films are ridiculous and campy and over the top, but that had some like kills in it that like actually disturbed me. Like the one where they're going down the barrel full of spikes down the hill, like
Yeah.
messed up stuff for the 60s especially.
That was ahead of its time for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But it all started from porn. All exploitation.
One time, which was a fangirl moment, and he had the plaque from 2000 Maniacs, and I asked him about it, and he said he should have saved it and sold it on eBay because he would have made a fortune out of it. I'm like, yep. So he's passed away now, so I had my one fangirl moment with Herschel Gordon.
That's amazing.
So they're all wondering when you are going to mention Rayanimator.
Now,
I literally had it written down and went, no, that's for Ray.
Like literally every Rayanimator movie, I feel like the effects just like get better and better, especially in Beyond Rayanimator, where there's also a rat fighting a penis. But like just the scene itself with the doctor's head in the tray.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, the rest of the body didn't look that convincing, but he was using like a medical prop as the head.
Uh-huh.
But just like all the people that were reanimated, the cat, like it all love, like deep in my heart.
Yeah, loves it so much she named her YouTube channel after it.
And right, Rayanimator.
Oh, I get it.
All sewn up, like hello, that looks incredible.
That's how I got my nickname, Groom of Rayanimator.
Mm-hmm.
What about From Beyond?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good one too.
Oh,
It's so good.
That's what I had written down was for Dr. Pretorius's numerous transformations throughout the film.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Oh yeah.
You can't think about practical effects without thinking about transformation scenes. That's what I was saying earlier. Like, there's so many great transformation scenes with practical effects.
Mm-hmm.
what do you think is a bad transformation scene in a like a high budget?
Oh, wow.
Anything with CGI.
Which one?
'Cause I had one in mind where everybody's talking about good stuff. I was like, you know what's really bad? Underworld. That transformation scene in Underworld is so like where he's just like he looks like a cat coughing up a hairball. He's like,
Oh, nothing's worse. Nothing's worse than Halloween 7.
oh,
Oh, wait, it's just like a crossfade dissolve where it goes, and then just
Yeah.
it's like fade in, fade out.
yeah.
I can do that with my computer with our reviews.
I know. I could too. Just crossfade. That's all it was.
Yeah. Is that one was
Do a star wipe. Now they're a werewolf.
Well, on top of my head, I'm thinking, just on top of my head, I'm thinking of a lot of people like this movie, but Van Helsing.
Oh, that was awesome.
I just hate it when there's like a lot of computer, but the transformation of Van Helsing, I'm like,
I
Yeah.
just feel like CGI is killing good
Yeah. There's one scene where.
practical effects, and it's shameful.
Yeah, there was one scene where Kate Beckinsale falls off like the bridge or something, and she turns into a CG model because they didn't want her to get hurt. And I'm like, are you serious?
Really?
Yeah.
I'll take
That's awful.
bad practical effects over bad CGI any day. You know?
Oh, same,
Exactly.
Same.
Exactly.
That doesn't need to be in immediate danger, like Evil Dead. If they're not in danger, then we can't feel the fear.
That's right. Their acting will be better if they're terrified for their lives.
Exactly.
I love the behind the scenes of the Evil Dead where Ellen's Sandwich. It always reminds me of Sandwich. I don't know. But
Hungry.
she runs through the woods and the behind the scenes are outtakes and she trips and all you can hear her go shit. I'm like, yeah, that's real pain right there.
That's something I absolutely love is watching the behind the scenes of how they did certain special effects. You were saying about watching a documentary on one of them, and like it's absolutely one of my favorites. The movie Necromantic. There is a documentary on YouTube on how they did a really horrific scene in it, but the actors are all like laughing and pumping blood and joking with each other, and you're like, this looks like so much fun. Like it just looks like a great time.
I'm going to control the blood pumping.
I do.
I love the behind the scenes for Day of the Dead, and you see like a very young Greg Nicotero just like running around and like they're all like laughing and having fun, and then they talked about the freezer that was full of all the animal entrails, that somehow got unplugged, but they had to use them. And they're like recounting it, and they're like, there were people putting it in their mouths, and they're just like, oh.
There's one that I love that's behind the scenes for a film called Abominable, where the scene is where a guy gets like his face from here to here bitten off. Ooh. And then there's this hilarious scene where, a hilarious outtake where his body is supposed to hit the ground and it has to look natural, and then you just see his like empty head. But so what they did was that it fell. They had to have it fall several dozen times, so they just have this clip of it going. Then at the end, they're like, "That's the one. That's one."
There we go.
Oh, just talking about the practical effects in the original Dawn of the Dead must have been awful on the extras, as the flesh they were eating was chocolate-covered ham.
Or good. I mean,
I like chocolate and ham, but not together.
Yeah. Could be a thing.
I'm just surprised how they were able to clean the mall up after they were done with it, because they shot mostly at night, I think, inside the mall, and then they would have to clean it up for the next day. I'm just amazed how they got it all cleaned up every time they went into a massacre scene.
Could you imagine, like, you just forget, like, one part, people go in to, like, open up a Foot Locker, and they're like, what the fuck?
They got to use they used to go to use the heart rate machine. There's already an arm in here.
Dave Maggie says they blew the windows out of the mall. Can you imagine you work in that mall and you go walking in, they're still cleaning up, and there's just somebody mopping up blood, and you're like,
it's okay, it's George A. Romero.
It's just
Romero.
Oh, all right, 15 minutes.
We got 15.
I was just gonna say, this is going by so fast.
It has gone by fast.
One of the most famous practical effects movies, of course, is The Exorcist. Like just changing Regan into this creature, this demonic monster. And I love like when you see the behind the scenes of those as well, and like they're standing on the prop Regan to like paint the wall because she's like a dummy that they've positioned above. But she also got hurt on set. Yeah, because when she's doing the like back and forth, I guess she was really like strapped to the bed, and yeah, she injured her spine doing that or something.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
I remember watching that documentary. What always stuck out to me is when one of the people said it's the most. They said it's the most perfect what do you call it? Perfect analogy or example of what what she was. He said that this sweet little girl would go from that to a horrifying monster within the span of a few hours.
And
it was just that line always stuck with me. I mean, not only horror movies aren't the only ones with good backstories. Documentaries have a lot too.
For sure.
I just think there should be more documentaries about these, like the hard work that goes into practical effects.
Yeah.
Because not everybody is a Greg Nicotero that has like the big, everybody knows who he is, everybody knows that he's great. There's a lot of smaller people that, like the guys in Terrifier, that are smaller, put all their money, their heart and their soul into these movies, and it's really cool when you get to see their story and see how much they're like, listen, I second mortgage my house to make this movie because I believe in my product so much, and it's so good to see when they get rewarded for that, when their movies take off and become so popular and everything like that. So I'd like to see more documentaries about like the smaller studios and stuff like that.
It brings up a point that
how everything's done, because I'm so curious, and just the whole creation of the effect is just marvelous.
Yeah, it's amazing how they do that.
Demons. the Dario Argento's Demons. Or that Umberto Bava's Demons, I mean. That's the movie theater one. That's just amazing.
Oh yeah.
And Night of the Demons I love too.
Yes.
Demonic roles. Oh.
Night of the Demons 2 though. I have a problem with bad sequels. I love them so much, and Night of the Demons 2 is just like one of my favorite movies. And yeah, like the martial arts nun, and
oh my god,
the super soakers full of holy water, and then like it makes them explode. And like I'm just like, yes, I am here for every moment of this.
I love how she tries to chop off her head, and then she had ducked her head into her little nun outfit, and then she just pops her head back out.
Like what I was thinking about a minute ago, like everybody's talking about practical and digital effects, like with the whole just like not Marvel universe, but the whole horror universe. Like, do you think they should, because of course they did the Mommy and stuff and everything's very digital, don't you think that the universe of Universal Monsters should actually stick more to the practical effects than the actual digital?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I wish they had done that with the Wolfman. I still love the movie, and I wish they continued more R-rated, dark universe movies, but they stuck with PG-13 after that. But Wolfman
really
had great practical effects.
Yeah.
No, they had great practical effects and decent CG effects. I'd say decent at the most.
Yeah, passable.
They worked like for months on the transformation, and it came out like that. Really,
Yeah.
Worked for months.
They lost me on the transformation because it could have been so much better.
it was well lit.
True. I will give it that.
I do like I love the reveal of the asylum scene, even though it looks like crap. It's just like, oh, finally he can go around killing people, and to be like, everyone knows about him now.
Yeah. Surprise.
It's not a secret anymore.
Linnea Quigley.
Oh, Linnea Quigley. I'm hoping people get my shirt reference.
I was gonna say, I don't think they can see your shirt.
No, I can't.
Yeah, I can't do it.
Send for paramedics.
Yes.
Speaking of transformation scenes,
Yeah,
oh, Linnea Quigley.
I just have a.
Although
NWO
she looked
Wolfpack
like
shirt on.
she looked a little fucking weird.
She looks like a paler version of Mr. Heat Miser, getting back to Monty from the Horror Miser.
Oh my god! Just that like big mouth kind of put me off. I was like, ooh, but like everything else.
Oh, somebody wants to know where you got your shirt.
I got it at Monster Mania Con like 10 years ago.
Try Amazon. Everything's on Amazon.
Oh yeah.
Unless you're in
Zachary Hay-
Canada.
Zachary Hayes says, "Night of the Demons 2 is better. Fight me."
Ooh. I think he's just tired. He's been awake for the whole crawl.
And
Props to him. Him and Ben are both like they're in this competition of who can stay awake for the whole crawl.
I feel like
Oh,
that's a competition no one really wins.
I said we're just gonna see a bunch of letters going across. Like, yep, he fell asleep to his camera, or he.
or then they log off, and then they forget there was an after party.
No.
No one won.
Yeah, definitely. Like, guys, stop by the after party. There's actually going to be like crawl trivia and a lot of really cool stuff. That there's a lot of really cool stuff that Gory's putting together. Like, she's making like a trivia game for all the different hours of the crawl. Like, what did they talk about? What movie did so and so mention as their favorite one, and everything like that. So it's going to be really cool.
And huge shout out to Gory. Thank you so much for inviting us to be part of the crawl. It means so much to us, and we're so glad that we could have these awesome people on our channel.
I know.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, and thank you to Gory. She worked her buns off to put this together. Like, she just goes above and beyond. And I think as, members of the horror community, we can all really appreciate when someone puts that much love and devotion into what they're doing. So, she rocks. And Nightmare and Lulz, hell, to the whole Horror Addicts family, we love you.
Yeah.
She is our queen.
Yes.
But she's been a great
helping
help
out
so
with
far.
everything
It's
and
just-
like holding.
Oh yeah.
We really appreciate it.
And I think, if you've ever seen those big giant silver things of coffee that hold like 10 gallons of coffee, I think he's emptied one of those already.
Yeah, she's
She's chugging coffee.
Mm-hmm. Can't blame her. All right, so there's 7 minutes.
7 minutes left.
all right.
Well, technically it's 6.5, but
Cement.
Buster.
You guys were talking about documentaries and practical effects and things like that in horror movies. Have you guys ever seen a documentary called American Movie?
I don't think so.
Oh, no one's ever seen that. It came out like the early 2000s, and about this guy that has like no money, and he just loves. It's really funny, and it's unintentionally funny. And
I don't know what you're talking about.
yeah.
What, Colvin?
Like
Is that what you're talking?
and these dudes
Yeah.
just have like no money, and they're like in Minnesota or something. They're just like using
Yeah.
all these practical effects. And he wants to
And
call
it
it
was
Colvin. Yeah, that's it.
No,
Yeah.
Colvin. It's
Yeah.
Colvin.
It sounds like oven. No, yeah.
Yeah. I remember that one. That
I
was
like
actually
that movie to everybody. Yeah.
American, people are in the comments saying American movie is great, so
Oh yeah.
you might have to check that out.
Yeah, check it out.
Well, another one for practical effects, guys. I'm sorry, it's my favorite. It's my number one favorite worst horror film of all time, and that is Marlon Brando, Val Kilmer, Island of Dr. Monroe.
Oh my god.
Dr. Moreau.
Oh
Oh,
god.
God.
Okay,
The worst movie
there are
with
very
the
good
practical
practical
effects.
effects in that.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
give you that.
But that director is doing a movie. What's his name? Richard Stanley.
Yeah.
He's doing a movie with Elijah Wood's company.
Yes.
And it's going to be,
Oh, really?
yeah, it's a H.P. Lovecraft story with, is Nick Cage in it?
I think it's in Stranger
Yeah,
Things.
with I think Nick Cage is going to be in it. Yeah, I'm really excited
It's
about that.
H.P. Lovecraft and it's Nick Cage. I'm going to end up having to watch it with her.
Well, because Elijah Woods produced Greasy Strangler, so
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Freaking love that movie.
so good.
I know.
I love
I have
recommending
a
that
lot of
movie
hype.
to people because then they come back and you know when they watch it because they walk up to you and they're like, "What is wrong with you?"
Cutie, disco cutie.
And the funny part is, I made one of my friends watch this like a while ago, and it's so funny. Every time somebody asks, I shit you not, this guy. Every time somebody asks him, "Do you like indie films?" He answers, "Yeah, I've seen like Greasy Strangler." And they're like, "Have you seen this?" And he goes, "No, my number one indie film is Greasy Strangler." I'm like, I think that's the only thing you've seen.
Yeah.
The only thing. Somebody just Brandon Meacham just said, "Have you guys seen this doc on Netflix called Haunters: Art of the Scared Explosion?"
Yes.
Yeah, that was
Oh, yeah.
That is kind of the unsung hero of the practical effects. The people who run those haunted attractions.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how they do it, and the budget, and just to be able to put that together, and they work all year, and the passion these people have, it's incredible.
It is incredible.
Some of those people at the smaller ones aren't paid. They're just volunteers. These are people just do it because they love this. They love They love the horror community. They love dressing up like characters and acting it out. I know we have a bunch of them locally in our area, and a lot of the people are just volunteers. And there's makeup people that come and they do their makeup for free, and they provide all the stuff for them. But they just run around, and it's awesome. I just love seeing that kind of passion for.
Yeah.
With all the haunted houses out there.
Yeah,
Big ups.
yeah, because James Gunn used to work with Trauma, and he was doing all that, with Trauma and Juliet and stuff. So everything kind of makes in his rotation. So you're totally correct, sir.
That's right.
All right. We are down to 3 minutes, so we'll say goodbye to our illustrious guests here, and why don't you each go and tell the good people how they can find you. Let me start with Amy and Kevin.
Okay, well, if you stand in front of a mirror and it's in the dark and you whisper our names 3 times, we appear behind you and give you movie recommendations.
Yeah.
It's the Curse of the Glamour Ghoul on YouTube. On Instagram, I'm _Glamour Ghoul _ the Glamour Ghoul all underscored. And you are...
I'm Rock Hartson. Also, I'm Kevsta1138 on Instagram.
Come hang out with us and be spooky.
Yes.
Amanda and Jess.
Hi guys. Well, we had such a good time tonight, but we are Channel Sundown. We are going live on hour 26. We're doing Are You Alone? Most debated horror topics. Are you alone in your thoughts? Yeah, so it's Mr. Just Koresh, my buddy, and I'm Kitty Carnage, and I just want to say a special thank you to Ray to having us here.
I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had I kind of been off the radar for a little bit, so I feel so full-heartedly. It's a big hug. Thank you for letting us come back.
So glad to have you back. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Bragg.
Well, you guys can find me in the description below because I don't know my own URL, but my channel is called Horror Show Host. just come. You can watch my videos, comment, and I will most definitely reply to all of you. I almost said most likely, but you know. So thank you, Ray and Joey, for having us on, all of us on here. I really appreciate it because you guys are awesome.
All right, and then you can
I'll let you guys do the outro.
find us on here on YouTube. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Rayanimator Reviews, Twitter at Rayanimator, and please go check out Random Horror coming up right after.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Nice meeting you.
Horror live streams featuring some of the creepiest channels on YouTube. Next up is Random Horror. Click on the link in the description and continue the crawl. And for the full schedule, check out the crawl page on horroraddictstv.com.
Yay.